What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the MC show. It is your boy MC. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any and all help would be greatly appreciated. Please share this video with friends, family. If you're a podcast listener, now you can listen to my podcast, the MC show, in podcast form. Don't forget to leave a review, download, of course. 5 stars. Why would you give it anything less? This is the best thing you've probably heard like in your entire life. But yes, please don't forget to do that. Today, we're gonna talk about a few other Western Conference teams that I did not get to in my first video, where I talked about the 4 California teams, the Lakers, Clippers, Golden State Warriors, and of course Sacramento Kings. Now we're gonna talk about 4 more teams that are sort of going to be in the play-in mix that I think can be really interesting to go over. But again, before we get started, like, comment, subscribe. For the podcast listeners, download, leave a review, rate it 5 stars. Thank you so much. We're going to start with the San Antonio Spurs, though. San Antonio Spurs this offseason, they signed Luke Kornet, signed Lindy Waters a couple weeks ago, traded for Kelly Olynyk, signed Julian Champagnie and Jordan McLaughlin, minimum contracts. Julian Champagnie, I believe, they guaranteed his contract for this season. Just actually a couple hours ago, before I started recording, while I was doing my prep work, they re-signed De'Aaron Fox, who was coming up on the last year of his deal. 4-year, $229 million max extension. And obviously they drafted Carter Bryant, Dylan Harper. Real quick on the Fox extension, since that just happened today. That's $57 million on average. That is a lot of money to commit to De'Aaron Fox. I like De'Aaron Fox. I've always liked De'Aaron Fox. It sucked that he spent most of his career in Sacramento, in that god-awful place. Just rotting away, sort of. They had that 2023 season, but the Kings are just an absolute mess. As if you saw my last video, and if you're just someone who follows the NBA, you understand exactly what I'm talking about, and you don't disagree. But it is a big commitment. They traded for him last season. He wanted to go there. He didn't pick any other teams for real. He only played 5 games with Wemby last year. Missed the rest of the season. Got injured in sometime in March. Missed the rest of the season with a finger injury. Fox is a really good player. $57 million good. I don't know about all that. You know what I'm saying? I understand, though, we're in times now where guys are making just a lot of money. So I get it. I really do. But for the Spurs side, this shows that they're committed to him. They picked Dylan Harper, who we'll get to, number 2 overall pick this past draft. But they are, Fox, who is 27 years old, they are absolutely all in on this Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox build. Again, a lot of money, big commitment, but we'll see this season how well Wembanyama and Fox can work together, how well they fit with the team that they've built around them. Now, getting on to the rest of the team, I think they've had a pretty good offseason. I really like the signing of Luke Kornet. Luke Kornet is a good player. He was in Boston, and he played pretty well. He's not a 20, 25, 30-minute guy. He's more of like a 15, maybe 20-minute guy. He's going to be Victor Wembanyama's backup center. Maybe you could see, some minutes where Luke Kornet and Victor Wembanyama are playing together. If Mitch Johnson, their coach, wants to get really weird and freaky and just have a bunch of arms and shot blocking everywhere to improve their defense, maybe they play together. But Luke Kornet is going to be the backup center. I do like that signing for them. The other signings, Lindy Waters and Julian Champagnie, Jordan McLaughlin, are just just depth pieces. Julian Champagnie obviously has been a really good shooter, and their offensive rating is pretty high when he's on the court. Actually, their most used lineup last season, and this obviously isn't just because of Julian Champagnie, but their most used lineups in 177 minutes: CP3, Harrison Barnes, Julian Champagnie, Stephon Castle, and Victor Wembanyama. 124.8 offensive rating, 112.2, 111.2, 112, excuse me, I'm an idiot. 112 defensive rating and 177 minutes. Pretty good. Pretty good. He shoots the ball pretty well. You have guys around him like Wemby and Castle who can you're looking to help to lead their defense. I like Julian Champagnie. I think he's a fine player. I don't think he's just a depth piece. You're gonna be relying on your starting lineup coming into the season, which is gonna be, I believe, it's gonna be Fox, Castle, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, Victor Wembanyama. It's kind of a small lineup, but when you have Wemby, I guess you can kind of get away with it. He's 7'4" and has arms the size of I don't know, like Godzilla or something. It is a kind of a small lineup. Harrison Barnes, I think, does fit well as just an off-ball guy. Shot 59% on twos, 43.3% on threes. He's turned into a really efficient scorer. He averaged 12 points for them last season. I like his fit. But again, Wemby and Fox are going to be the guys that are going to be leading this team. They are going to be the guys who you are relying on. They are the two best guys on the team. Wemby is coming into his third season now. What you are expecting Wembanyama to continuously take a leap and sort of kind of firmly etch himself into like top 10 guys in the league. He's more of a 10 through 20 guy. He had a really good season last year before the blood clots that we discovered after the All-Star break, unfortunately. Wembanyama is saying that he's good to go, so we will see him at the very beginning of the season. But if Wemby can become a top 10 guy, if De'Aaron Fox turns into what he was in Sacramento, when averaging 24, 25 points, 6 assists, a steal per game, then things are looking quite I guess moving in a positive direction for the San Antonio Spurs. They're a young team. Castle is young, coming off a Rookie of the Year season. Devin Vassell is still 24 years old. Like, this is going to be his 6th year in the league, and he's only 24 years old. Like, there's a lot of opportunity to grow for all these guys. Wembanyama as the best player. One thing I need to see Victor Wembanyama do is I need to see him be more of a paint guy. He's 7'4". I understand the handle was there. I understand he can shoot decently well. But I need Victor Wembanyama. I need him to be more of a dominant guy in the paint. Less pull-up threes, less dribbling like your Kevin Durant. Even though his handle is fine for his size, get in the paint, a little bit more just sealing guys, posting up. His teammates have to find him. Like, he's 7'4", throw it up. Most guys in the NBA aren't even 7 feet. Like, there's a lot of guys playing small right now. Like, throw it up to him. He's extremely athletic, has long arms. If his teammates can find him more consistently, it would be really big help for Victor Wembanyama. But I need Victor Wembanyama to be a little bit more of a paint player, a little bit less of a scorer on the outside like he's Kevin Durant. And then Castle, I believe he's gonna start. Obviously, he's gonna be someone who, next to De'Aaron Fox, who isn't like known for his defense. That's why I think Castle is gonna be starting, because Castle has the athleticism, the defensive intensity. You want that next to De'Aaron Fox. And so, how good can they be defensively? Wemby fixes so many things. Like, it's just that simple. When he's on the court, their defense is pretty good. When he's off the court, the defense is not that good. And it's been like that for the first 2 seasons of his career. I think that's why getting Luke Cornett was big, because Luke Cornett has turned into a very, very good rim protector as a role player. So I think that will supplement it a little bit, just a little bit. But they're coming off a season where they were 25th in defense, 19th in offense. They do have a lot of room to grow. Could they be a team that could, seventh in the West, eighth in the West? It's possible, but they do have a lot of steps to go through, a lot of hurdles to go through within their team before they really actually get there. Again, I like the move that they made. Kelly Olynyk, I like him theoretically. Low key, Kelly Olynyk has not been healthy the past couple seasons. Utah, Toronto traded for him last season. Again, theoretically, I like him as a dribble handoff guy. When he was at Miami, if you watch him in Miami, a lot of DHOs, a lot of the fake DHOs. If you watch the Golden State Warriors, Draymond does a fake DHO, drives to the basket for a dunk. Kelly Olynyk can do that. I think that's just easy points. He's a good passer. He's a smart, high IQ guy. So I like him. He's also someone who I think can play next to Victor Wembanyama or without Victor Wembanyama. I think he's that malleable. So I like the pieces. I like the pieces that they have. I like the young guys they have. I didn't even talk about really Dylan Harper or Carter Bryant. I can't believe that NBA allowed, not even the NBA, I can't believe other teams looked at the number 2 pick and then what was he, 12, 14, somewhere around there, and other NBA teams was like, you know what? Let's let him fall to the San Antonio Spurs. How could you allow that? You know what I'm saying? How could you allow that? It don't make no sense to me, but Carter Bryant looks like a great all-ball defender. I think he's going to be someone that's going to be an extremely important part of their defense, part of their rotation. I'd even talk about Jeremy Sohan. Played point guard last season for some odd reason, or was it the year before? I don't even remember. But he has some switchability to him. We'll see how he fits in the rotation. Didn't talk about Keldon Johnson. They have a lot of good young players who, like, you're banking on their improvements. You're banking on Castle becoming more of a focal point. Maybe he could improve his shooting a little bit, be a pesky on-ball defender. Hopefully De'Aaron Fox and Wemby can figure out some pick and roll chemistry, can be really dynamic together as a duo, and then we'll see where they go. But this is an up and coming team. I think teams in the West are probably scared that if these guys figure it out, which I would bet that they do figure it out, it's gonna be scary hours. Let's say that it's gonna be scary hours. I like what the Spurs have done. I look at them as a team that could make the playoff this season. 7th, 8th seed. I expect them to be more of a play-in team than like a guaranteed top 6 team. But you never know what happens in the Western Conference. It's an absolute war. They could surprise us. But I'm expecting a lot of good things this season from them. Moving on now to the Portland Trail Blazers. Portland, actually, real quick before we move to Portland, the lineup last year that played the second most minutes for the San Antonio Spurs: CP3, Harrison Barnes, Devin Vassell, Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle. You just replace CP3 with De'Aaron Fox in that lineup. 122.7 offensive rating, 111.2 defensive rating in what was it, 160 something minutes. I think that they can be. I think the starting lineup can be very, very good, pretty dynamic. I think the shooting of Vassell, the shooting of Wemby, and the shooting of Harrison Barnes can really help. And then you have obviously Castle can slash, De'Aaron Fox can slash. You have Devin Vassell can even get to the basket. Wemby can get to the basket. There's a nice little offensive dynamic that I think that this team can really unlock. Okay, now officially moving on to the Portland Trail Blazers. They signed Damian Lillard. He comes back, 3-year, $42 million. Traded for Drew Holiday. Drafted Yang Hansen. Obviously out was DeAndre Ayton in the buyout. Simons was part of the Drew Holiday trade. This team is coming off a season where they fake made a little push for the play-in tournament. Fake did. They finished third in defense in the 2025 year, just the 2025 year, not the entire season. Just the 2025 calendar year. They really show that they're a defensive oriented team, which I like that. Like when you are a young team trying to figure it out, one thing you want to do is figure out what kind of team you are. The Orlando Magic, a younger team, figured out we're a defensive team. You know, the Oklahoma City Thunder, pretty young team, they're a defensive team. The Portland Trail Blazers are a defensive team with good defensive player. Toumani Camara, who obviously shares my last name. No, we are not related. Was fantastic defensively last season, making the second team all defense. You bolster that with adding Jrue Holiday, an all-time great defensive guard. I expect them to be a good defense again. Their last season, although the 2025 calendar year, they were top 5 in defense. They only finished 16th in defense, which is basically below average. 22nd in offense. We'll talk about their offense. A little skeptical about that. But defensively is where I'm excited because of what I saw last year. Their starting lineup, Jrue, Scoot Henderson, because I think it's time for Scoot Henderson to start. Kamara, Donovan Clingan, who as a rookie showed like he's going to be a damn good rim protector. If there was one thing that Donovan Clingan was going to bring from college to the NBA was his ability to protect the rim because he's 7'2" and he's big as hell. That him, Denny Avdia rounding out the starting lineup. You're going to have Jeremy Grant off the bench. You're going to have Young Hansen, their 16th overall pick, who everybody thought was a reach, but had a fantastic summer league. You're going to have Shaedon Sharpe. I expect them to be a good defensive team again. I feel like if they want to take a really, really big leap, they would have to be a team that's like top 10 in defense. That's how they get from like they were 11th last year to maybe you sneak into 10, you know, maybe you sneak into 9. It's not just that, but if their identity is defense, if Chauncey Billups has figured out that we're a defensive oriented team, they have a chance to be better than average on defense. They finished 16th again last season. This next season, could they finish 12th, 10th? Like I think that's in the cards for them. Doubling down on defense with Jrue Holiday, who I thought they were going to trade, but it looks like they're going to keep him. I'm excited for the Portland Trail Blazers to potentially be a really frisky and tough defensive team. I don't think they're going to be an easy team to beat next season. Like, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs or anything. I'm not saying they're going to be the Utah Jazz or the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm not saying they're going to be those two. They can be a pretty frisky team. They're not going to be easy to beat at all. Obviously, Damian Lillard is coming into this season basically on PUP, on the PUP list. He's not going to play this entire season. It's a big year for Scoot Henderson, honestly. Like, he was the 3rd overall pick. This is going to be his 3rd season in the league. You didn't pick him 3rd for him to come off the bench. I've said it in the previous video. It's time to just give Scoot the ball, let him cook, figure out what kind of player he is. He figured some things out, especially in the second half of last season. One thing, I don't understand why he's not driving more to the basket. Like, you're small. He's what, 6'2", but he's very athletic, very strong, has like an NBA body already when he came into the league, when he got drafted. He's a good like mid-range shooter. He improved on his three-point percentage for sure. But like, it's time for like Chauncey Billups and the coaching staff, like, give him the keys. Damian Lillard is going to miss an entire season. Figure out what kind of player Scoot Henderson is. Again, you didn't draft him 3 for him to just be sitting on the bench. Get him the ball. Have him run some more offense and develop him. I think should be one of their top like 2 or 3 goals for this season, is developing Scoot Henderson into being whatever kind of player they envision him being. Again, then you have off the bench, Jeremy Grant, who is there for some odd reason still. Shaden Sharp, what is Shaden Sharp going to be? Shaden Sharp averaged, what was it, 17, 18, 19, somewhere in that range. I don't have it in front of me right now, but uh, he can score. Shaden Sharp can score. He could be like a maybe like a super six man off the bench. Who's averaging 17, 18 points still, but can he be more efficient? Can he defend? If this is gonna be a team that's gonna be a defensive oriented team, Shaden Sharp has to be able to play defense and to stay on the floor. He has to, because if not, then Jrue Holiday is gonna be playing 34 minutes a game, every game, and Shaden Sharp has to develop his defensive side of the ball. He's athletic. I think he can score, but he needs to improve on that end in order to get, consistent minutes, in order to find a place on the team in this rotation for sure. But this is a team. I know a lot of people are looking at their moves. They're like, you're trading for Jrue Holiday, you're getting Damian Lillard. They are far, far, far from contention. If the Portland Trailblazers were contending, it would make sense these moves. The Jrue Holiday trade, who he still has a couple years left on his contract, is owed over 100 million over that stretch, I believe. Damian Lillard makes sense, 3-year, $42 million deal. If they were a contender, it'd make sense. But they're not a contender, so I understand why it's puzzling. But I do think that this team can improve. I do think that this team can be better. I think Jrue Holiday can be helpful. We'll see if he stay there the entire season. But I think Jrue Holiday, for the duration he's there, I think he can really help. I think they can really learn. Having a defensive point guard in Chauncey Billups and Jrue Holiday, I think a lot of the guards can really learn from those two. So I'm thinking that Portland can be better. Are they going to be a play-in team? I don't know for certain. But I don't think it's impossible. Led by their defense. Their offense, 22nd last season. This season, I'm not going to assume it's going to be higher than 22nd, to be honest. Where are they going to get consistent shooting from? Jrue Holiday is coming off a season where he wasn't good three-point wise. Scoot, Sharp, Kamara, Denny's is not a bad shooter, but again, none of them are knockdown shooters. None of them are Duncan Robinson. None of them are what's bro's name in Milwaukee? I don't forget. AJ Green. They don't have any of those. So shooting is gonna be something that's like my number one concern on offense, but defensively, I think this team can be really good. I think they have a floor where they're going to be a average to above average defense, and they're going to make a lot of teams work for sure. So if I'm a Portland fan, let me know. Are you excited for what they have in store for next season? Moving on to the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns obviously lose Durant in the Houston trade. They lose Bradley Beal, waiving and stretching him over the next, I don't know how long, 4 or 5 years. Who cares at this point? But they re-signed Devin Booker to that massive deal, most annual in NBA history. He's going to be earning, $74 million or something like that? Crazy. They re-signed Colin Gillespie, minimum, move. But they signed Jared Butler, Jordan Goodwin, who was actually really good for the Lakers. I'm surprised the Lakers let him go, but they needed, some space for Marcus Smart. Nigel Hayes-Davis, who was playing really well overseas. I guess that's just taking a flyer on him. Traded for Mark Williams, obviously Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green, Malowach. It was the 10th pick from that trade. Starting lineup, opening day, I'm looking at Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn at the 4. I know they have Royce O'Neal as well, so I'm not sure who who they like more. But we'll say Ryan Dunn, because I feel like Ryan Dunn was like the only guy on the team last season on the Phoenix Suns that wanted to play defense. And this is a team that they're going to need to find some sort of identity. And Ryan Dunn, I think he tries. I think he gives a lot of effort. And I think that he might be undersized. I think Dylan Brooks might be the one guy to guard fours over him. Like, I think Dylan Brooks will guard LeBron more than Ryan Dunn, for example. But Ryan Dunn, as of right now, at the 4, and then Mark Williams at the 5, with bench guys of O'Neal, Nick Richards, Osa Iguodaro, Grayson Allen still. Again, all the minimums I just, mentioned, like Colin Gillespie and Jordan Goodwin. This team is gonna... I don't want to say this team's gonna suck, but this team is kind of gonna suck, bro. Jalen Green, who I initially thought that they would move him because there's no way Jalen Green and Devin Booker are gonna, work together, but they're keeping him. Could they keep him by the trade deadline if it doesn't work? Maybe they trade him, but as of right now, Devin Booker and Jalen Green is your backcourt. I guess more onus on Devin Booker to be a point guard, which is crazy because they got Tyus Jones last offseason, so Devin Booker doesn't have to play point guard. But this season, they're like, you know what? We're just going to put more onus on you, Devin Booker, to be point guard. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, I guess. Booker and Green are your backcourt. There's no questions about Devin Booker. There's no questions about that. Devin Booker is awesome. He's one of the best scorers in the league. He's an all-star. He's an all-NBA player. Hopefully he can stay healthy and give you 70 games of efficient 27, 28 point per game offense. Jalen Green is the problem. Well, I want to say the problem, he's the question. Because I don't want to say he's a problem. He has his faults. Not a playmaker, not an efficient scorer. I think he's better defensively now than he was when he first came into the league. But the offense is very questionable. The shot selection can be questionable. What can he be next to a guy like Devin Booker? Jalen Green never played next to a guy like Devin Booker. Alperen Sengun was the better player of those two when he was on Houston. But Devin Booker is a different level of player than Alperen Sengun. So how does he play off of another guard like Devin Booker? Even with Fred VanVleet. Like, Fred VanVleet is not Devin Booker. So I'm going to be looking at that. How those two guys work off of each other. Can he be a little bit more of an off-ball player? When Devin Booker's on the bench, what is the lineup going to be looking like around Jalen Green? Those are my questions. The Suns, I don't know. They're looking kind of mid, to be quite honest. I think Devin Booker can still do Devin Booker things. Dylan Brooks is a nice 3-and-D guy. Mark Williams still has upside. He's been injury prone for most of his career with like back issue or something. But he has talent. He still has to improve defensively. I don't know what his defensive upside is going to be. I don't think a lot of people are high on his defensive upside. But he's going to need to become like a pretty damn good rim protector if their defense isn't going to be horrible. Again, off the bench, Royce O'Neal, Nick Richards, I think he was fine for them. He started a lot of games for them. Now he's coming off the bench. Osa Iguodaro, I keep messing that up, yo. But what are they gonna get from him? Who knows? Grayson Allen, obviously, a good shooter. He's gonna be relied upon for spacing, of course. The Suns last year were 13th in offense, 27th in defense. Obviously, without Kevin Durant, the shooting that he has, Bradley Beal, the shooting that he also has. They're coming off a season 12th in 3-point attempts, 3rd in 3-point percentage. So they weren't a bad 3-point shooting team. Can they be a similar 3-point shooting team? We'll see. Royce O'Neal is not a bad shooter. Grayson Allen, of course, is a good shooter. Booker, not a bad shooter. But Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks has actually become a pretty decent three-point scorer. A pretty decent 3-point shooter. But I don't think he's replacing Kevin Durant in a starting lineup. Like, the spacing is going to be different. Ryan Dunn, I'm not the question for Ryan Dunn coming into the league was his 3-point shooting. There was a stretch in the first half of the season where he wasn't shooting the ball too terribly, but uh, our team's gonna respect him. That's the point. Our team's gonna treat him like such a threat where they can't help off of him and give space to Devin Booker to get into the mid range, get to the free throw line, get to the basket, and all those things. I'm gonna be looking for that. Their biggest change probably of the entire off season, which I don't think a lot of people have talked about, is that they fired Mike Budenholzer after what was a disappointing season, which wasn't entirely his fault, but we're not going to get into that. Jordan Ott is their new coach. Devin Booker signed off on him. They hired him. He's coming off an assistant job with Cleveland. He was also with Brooklyn when Kenny Atkinson was there as well. So you're coming off of you're coming from a team, Jordan Ott, where the Cavs had the #1 offense last season. A lot of motion, a lot of 3-point attempts, a lot of scoring, a lot of pacing, a lot of spacing. He's gonna bring some of that to this team. The Suns did lack a lot of that last season, I will say. Again, 13th on offense isn't bad, but when you have the talents of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, a lot of times I will look at their offense and I'll watch their games and I'm like, this is so boring to watch. Why is a team with 3 all-star level guys, 3 guys who can score 30 at any given point, why is their offense so bad and boring to watch? You know what I'm saying? There wasn't enough movement, there wasn't enough creativity. And I'm looking at Jordan Ott coming from the Cleveland Cavaliers, where they had a bunch of movement and spacing and creativity. Can he bring some of that to the Phoenix Suns? And maybe their offense, maybe it's 12th, 11th, 10th, because of all that high energy spacing and pacing that Jordan Ott brings. I don't know. This is his first time being a head coach. We're gonna see how good he's gonna be. But I look at this Phoenix Suns roster and I'm like, man, this is just not a good team. This is just not a good team. And I can't predict what they're going to do in February at the trade deadline. Like who they're going to keep, who they're going to trade. Like, I don't know. We can predict, but we don't know for sure. But Devin Booker is gone from playing with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal to Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green. And I just can't see this team making the playoffs. They disappointed last season by not making the playoffs, being the 11th seed, not even making the play-in tournament. But my God, this team, this roster, it's not good enough to compete in the Western Conference. So, but I'm going to be interested in just seeing how Jordan Ott does and how Jalen Green looks in a different situation. But that's really the only 2 things I'm going to be looking forward to when watching Phoenix Suns games. This roster just doesn't have enough talent to compete in the West. And it's unfortunate how, a couple years ago, this team made the finals. They made the playoffs. They did lose a bit embarrassingly in 2 straight seasons, in Game 7, Game 6, 2022, 2023, respectively. But to go from that to this is pretty embarrassing. They're going to need some time before they get back to not even championship contention, just playoff contention. For sure. But that's enough of the Phoenix Suns. Last team. The Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis, obviously we've gone over it before. Other people have gone over it before. They traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. A bunch of draft picks. Cole Anthony was a part of that trade, but he got let go. He's now in what's that team over there called? Milwaukee, all the way in the East. Jaren Jackson Jr., they signed him 5-year, $240 max deal. They signed Ty Jerome this year as well, 3 years. They re-signed Santi Aldama. So pretty decent moves, I would say. Starting lineup: John Morant, KCP, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey. Off the bench, you're gonna have Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., who I think is good. Santi Aldama, of course. Brandon Clark. More time removed away from that Achilles injury that he suffered. Question marks on Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams Jr. What are they gonna be? I feel like a couple of years ago you thought those two would be like staple in the rotations, but this seems like Memphis may not be too sure on them themselves. I think they both showed signs throughout their years in Memphis that they can be good players, but not consistent enough. Cam Spencer they signed, and they traded in a draft to get a Cedric Coward who can fit really well with them. To me, I have two questions for this team. They finished 8th last season. They finished 6th in offense, 11th in defense. They fired Taylor Jenkins, got their assistant coach, their interim coach. They re-signed him. I'm blanking on his name right now. My question is, I'm going to look up their coach's name right now because I don't want to disrespect the guy. But my two questions are John Morant and can their young players improve? Those are my two biggest questions. For John Morant a couple years ago was like a top 10-ish guy. He made second team All NBA in 2022, but since then with the blicky stuff and the injuries, he had the torn labrum. This season he had a bunch of like little injuries, and one of them including his shoulder. I think that in order for Memphis to sort of reach their next ceiling, actually reach their next ceiling, John Morant is going to have to return to what he once was. I really liked Jaren Jackson Jr.'s game last year. I thought he was fantastic. He was an all-star. He deserved to be an all-star. But he is a number 2 guy. He's not a number 1 guy. John Morant was drafted to be your number 1 guy. He needs to return to being that number 1 guy consistently. And I don't think he's done that. Again, it's been injuries. He needs to lock in, and he needs to be that guy that he was in 2022. And for the record, Tumas, oh man, I am butchering this. Is that an I or an L? Just at the beginning of his name. Is this embarrassing? I hope this isn't embarrassing. Tumas is Silo. I'm sorry I butchered their name. I know I did. Can y'all give me a pronunciation guide, please? Damn. But obviously he came from overseas, changed their offense. They weren't a bad offensive team, 6th in offense, but they were, rumors last season, stories circling this team about how John Morant wasn't a fan of the offense. He was off the ball more than on the ball. He didn't run as many pick and rolls last season as he did the previous years of his career. Now, how much their offense is going to change, I'm not too sure. But John Morant, without Desmond Bane, can be more on ball. Desmond Bane was someone you could give the ball to. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is replacing him in the starting lineup. KCP is like strictly an off-ball player and has been for many, many years. I don't know a single thing. No offense to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He's a really, really good player, even though he had a really bad season last year for Orlando. But he doesn't do anything on the ball at all. So John Morant is going to have the ball more. I don't know how much they're going to trust Jalen Wells with the ball. Obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to get his share of spot-up threes or attempt at the basket. I like him better at the basket, but he's not a bad three-point shooter either. But John Morant is going to have the ball more. Running pick and rolls with Zach Edey is I'm going to be looking at his pick and roll numbers to see if they improved from last year to this season. Off the bench, they have some scoring punch with Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr., who is pretty good at handling the ball as well when John Morant is off the court. Santi Aldama is pretty good. I like the contract that they gave him. He's been a very, very good player for them. Brandon Clark helps with their defense because of his switchability, his athleticism, uh, catching lobs and whatnot. This team can be good. This team can be good. On offense, they could be good on defense as well. Again, 11th in defense. They sort of they were 11th in defense, but I felt like there were times last season where they didn't look like they were a top 10-ish defense. You know what I'm saying? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope can help with that with his perimeter defense. Jaren Jackson Jr., if you get a full season of Zach Edey playing better than he did last season, even though he was really good, he was injured a little bit. Like, can you get good, Zach Edey for 82 games? That would be really, really helpful for Memphis. But again, their ceiling they don't have a low floor. They have a pretty high floor because I think their team is going to be pretty good. But their ceiling improves. They can win maybe a playoff series against anybody except OKC probably. They can win a playoff series though if Ja Morant can get back to what he once was. I think that's my biggest thing, my biggest question for the Memphis Grizzlies in the Western Conference that's extremely tough. OKC has a top 10 guy. The Lakers have 2 top 10 guys. Houston has a top 10 guy. The Warriors have a top 10 guy. Denver has a top 10 guy. Anthony Edwards is probably I would say a top 10 guy right now. The Clippers, Kawhi, a healthy Kawhi is a top 10-ish guy. So, but we haven't gotten a healthy Kawhi. But Kawhi at his peak, top 10 guy. If he's healthy, like in a conference where you have a bunch of top 10 guys, and not only that, a lot of the second best players are like 15, 20. You know what I'm saying? Like Golden State has their second best player is Jimmy Butler. Alperen Şengün is good. Jamal Murray is good. J-Dub is good. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jaren Jackson Jr. is good. So I trust that he can be as good or even hopefully even a little bit better than he was this next season. But Ja Morant, you got to be able to be a top 10 guy like Golden State has or like Houston has or like Memphis has or Denver has. Like, you have to be that level of guy that you were looking like you were in 2022. If he doesn't look like that, if he's injured again, if he's inefficient again, they're gonna be a team that's gonna be in the 8th seed once again. And OKC isn't going anywhere. I think Portland is up and coming. Now they're not there yet. This team should 100% be better than Portland. But Portland's not easy. They're coming. Saying the Spurs, they're coming. Wemby is going to be a good player. De'Aaron Fox hopefully stays healthy the entire season. Like, they don't have any room for Ja Morant to not be a top 10 guy. Because if Ja Morant isn't a top 10 guy this season, or a top 10-ish guy this season, then you're going to start hearing trade stuff for the Memphis Grizzlies for sure. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to be the one to bring it up, but I know for a fact how the way the NBA works today, how these talks go. If Ja Morant does not have a good season next year, I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe they're like 500 by the All-Star break or something, or like maybe right before the All-Star break, and you might hear Ja Morant questions. Like, you might hear teams be like, "Yo, is Ja Morant available?" I'm not saying they're gonna trade him, but teams might call and be like, "Yo, is Ja Morant available?" I don't know what his trade market value would be because he's coming off a couple seasons of injuries and suspensions, but he has to be better. Point blank period. That's the only way they can get through this really, 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 really tough conference. Statistically, they weren't bad. 6th in offense, 11th in defense again. But their young guys have to improve. Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams Jr., what Cedric Coward can give you, Zach Edey, and then Ja Morant has to be top 10 guy. If those two things can happen simultaneously during this next season, then they have a higher ceiling. But if they don't, then they might be in the 8th spot again. But that's about it, man. We went through all the teams. These are all my note cards for the video audience of the Spurs, Portland, Suns, Memphis. Didn't really talk about the Utah Jazz. They're gonna suck. I don't know why they traded for Yusuf Nurkic or Kevin Love. Who knows what they're gonna be? Is Lauri Markkanen, who becomes very interesting now because he has a big contract and he's eligible for a trade this season. What he's gonna be, they like sent him to like, I don't know, the dungeon or something, and he didn't play a lot last season. He's gonna have to recoup some trade value, so he's gonna be interesting, but the team itself is not gonna be interesting. They have like Kyle Filipowski was good this past summer league. Isaiah Collier was good last season. Who did they pick? Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey, can he be good? You know, he has the opportunity to score a lot, be a good scorer in this league. I even liked Jalen Williams' brother, Cody Williams, had a pretty good season as well, summer league as well. What are they gonna be? I don't know, but it ain't gonna be anything that's gonna be too interesting for most NBA fans. New Orleans Pelicans, I feel like we've cracked on them enough. And when I say we, I mean everybody in the media space have cracked on the New Orleans Pelicans enough for that dummy trade that they did to give up their number 1 overall, their first round pick for next season. So, but those, I just letting you know right now, I think those are going to be the 2 worst teams in the conference: the Utah Jazz and New Orleans Pelicans. Just letting you know. Not going to spend too much time with them at all because they aren't going to be good. Didn't really talk about Dallas. I know everybody's looking at Dallas as a great team. I'm like, let's pause for a second. Maybe we'll talk about them in a future video. Minnesota Timberwolves, I think they're going to be good again like they were last season. They're a team that they're coming off 2 straight conference finals appearances. Like, they're a team to be reckoned with. They're a team to be reckoned with for sure. I don't think a lot of people are talking about them because they haven't really made that big of a deal. They haven't made that like big of like trades or off-season moves. They re-signed Randall, which made sense at a good value. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, they couldn't keep him. So they have essentially the same team, but they lost Luka Garza. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they haven't made too many like subtle changes, but I still expect them to be a really, really good team. So those are the Western Conference teams. This is like the second part. Next video / episode, we will be talking about Eastern Conference teams. That might be a little bit more interesting just because Boston, Indiana, maybe Milwaukee, all 3 of those guys lost their second best or best player to injuries last season. So this season they're not going to be as good or as threatening. So we're going to go over that in the next episode. But until then, thank you guys for listening / watching. Please, again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're a pod audience, if you're part of the pod audience, please download, please rate, leave a review. Any all hope would be greatly appreciated. Share this video and pod with your friends and family. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.